Can the West Virginia Mountaineers finally break out of this stupid, pathetic, ridiculous cycle that they've been in over this last stretch of basketball and pick up a win against a power conference opponent in Ohio State in Cleveland this Saturday night? We're going to have you covered on this episode of Mountaineer Moment. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. All right, welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Mountaineer Moment, episode 114. My name is Troy, and I am happy that you are here for this episode. Whatever platform you're on, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, hit that subscribe button for us. Continue to grow this community. I know listens are going up on those other audio platforms. YouTube continuing to plug away at this thing. Just now getting over 400 subscribers. Would love to continue and start that pursuit toward 500 and then 1,000 after that, and then who knows what from there. But super grateful and appreciative. If you would, just hit that subscribe button for us and join the Mountaineer Moment movement as we continue to bring you content covering your West Virginia Mountaineers football and basketball programs. Again, greatly appreciated. On this episode, we're going to be talking about this West Virginia matchup upcoming here with Ohio State on Saturday night in Cleveland. And, another neutral site game. That's a cycle that West Virginia wants to break out of. One, because they've lost all three of their neutral site games this season. But part of the Cleveland Hoops Showdown, Saturday night, 8 o'clock tip-off against Ohio State, who's coming off a loss to Illinois. We're going to get into that. We're going to give you all that you need to know, really, in this game preview for West Virginia and Ohio State. Give you all that you need to know for the Ohio State Buckeyes and what threat they might pose for the Mountaineers. But look, the reality is West Virginia is in a cycle that is just not fun. They're sitting at 8-3. They're coming off a win. And I'm a broken record. I get it. If you listen to Mountaineer Moment regularly, you've heard me talk about this. You've heard sources write about this, and other people covering West Virginia basketball talk about this very same thing too. I'm sure of it. But West Virginia is in a cycle. They haven't had anything come remotely close to a signature win there this season. Right, 8 wins. Their best wins against Pitt, who's struggling pretty significantly. You have 3 losses to Clemson, Xavier, and Wake Forest. Wake Forest, you lost to them last Saturday in Charleston. West Virginia, you lost to the other 2 teams in the Charleston Classic tournament back before Thanksgiving. And so you're 8-3, but all 8 of your wins, 7 if you don't count Pitt, are just against not good teams, not quality opponents, right? You're not playing the best of the best even in these mid-major, low-major conferences. You're playing some teams that are pretty bad. West Virginia fresh off of a win against Little Rock, who falls to 2-8, right? You played Coppin State not long before that. They're 2-9 or something like that. Mercyhurst, they have a losing record too. Mercyhurst is 4-6. And so your last... Think about that. Here, this even proves my point even more. This cycle that West Virginia's in, you played Clemson of the ACC. You played Xavier of the Big East. You played Wake Forest of the ACC. Not games that are against ranked teams, but games that Mountaineers absolutely can win. Not games you're going to put them in as a lock to win. Not games you're going to put them in as a lock to lose. And they lost all 3. But around those games, so after the trip to Charleston and before you played Wake Forest, you got 2 games against Mercyhurst, who has a losing record, Coppin State, who has a losing record. You blew them both out the gym, and then it was like, okay, we got right, we bounced back. Now let's go get Wake Forest. Let's get off the schneid a little bit here, and let's go get a big win. And you just couldn't do it. You lost by 9 to Wake Forest. Then back to the basics, right? Back to training camp, back to a non-conference game that you should absolutely positively win. You host Little Rock at the Coliseum. You beat them 90-58. West Virginia is 8-0 at the Hope Coliseum this year. And again, their competition has not been very fierce. They haven't played anybody. You've played 3 non-conference games in cities named Charleston, and you've lost all 3. That's the reality. That's where West Virginia sits. And that is the vicious cycle that they're hoping to break this weekend against Ohio State. Because now you have a Big Ten opponent, a quality team, with 2 losses to their record. You get a big boys on the team. This is a big boy roster made of big boy players, with higher expectations, a higher ceiling than Little Rock and Coppin State and Mercyhurst and these teams that you've been beaten up on. You have to. Ross Hodge said it after Wake Forest. We got to win one of these games. We just have to. You have to beat these teams eventually. You have 2 more non-conference games before Big 12 play tips off. You got Ohio State, then you got Mississippi Valley State. It would be a wonderful thing to get to Iowa State at the turn of the calendar into January 2026, tip off Big 12 play with a 10-3 record. And you can only get to a 10-3 record if you beat Ohio State in Cleveland this weekend. That's the reality of the current situation for the Mountaineers. The cycle is you're beating up on teams that aren't very good, and you're losing to teams that you could beat. Not saying should beat. Not saying you head into those games with West Virginia's going to win by 15 or anything like that. But games against teams that aren't ranked in the top 25, teams that are somewhat on your wavelength, somewhat on your skill level, and there's no doubt about it. And all 3 of these games, you lost by 9, you lost by 10 to Xavier, you lost by 3 to Clemson, a game you handed away at the end that you led from the majority of the game. So, but the problem is you lose all 3 of those, and then you just, surrounding those games is just games when you beat up on lesser teams, and you look amazing, and everything's good, and then you play someone that's good, someone that's on your skill level, and you lose. The cycle needs to stop. West Virginia needs to stop the cycle this Saturday against Ohio State. So, with that being said, let's talk about this Ohio State team. As we've done every game this season for the Mountaineers, if you don't know, here on Mountaineer Moment, we provide game previews all throughout the season. We're going to give you a little bit about Ohio State here, how they got here, some numbers to know for them, some players to know and to watch for, including Bruce Thornton, who is absolutely sensational for the Buckeyes. I'll tell you more about him in a moment. And then, well, maybe some keys as to how West Virginia can, in fact, break this vicious cycle. So Ohio State, they come into this game with a 7-2 record, coming off a loss to Illinois in their second Big Ten Conference game. They previously beat Northwestern. Their only other loss of the season for the Buckeyes came on the road at Pitt, a team West Virginia is familiar with and saw this year and beat by 22. 67-66 game. DeMarco Minor of Pitt hit a game-winning 3 as time expired to give Pitt the victory. Buckeyes have picked up other wins. Again, 7 wins. IU, Indianapolis, Purdue, Fort Wayne, App State, Notre Dame, Western Michigan, Mount St. Mary's, another mutual opponent for West Virginia, Ohio State, and then Northwestern, like we mentioned. And then Tuesday, they're coming off a loss at home to Illinois. They lost that game 88-80 against Illinois, number 13 ranked team in the country. Are the Fighting Illini, and this was a game that was tightly contested, 48-42 at half, high score in first half, followed up by a 40-38 advantage for Illinois in a second half, and they ended up winning that game by 8 points. Bruce Thornton had, I told you we're going to get to him, we still will because he deserves it. He had an incredible game in that one, 34 points. He's a guard, 6'2" guard. 13 of 17 from the floor is outrageous for Bruce Thornton in 40 minutes played. 6 of 9 from downtown for the senior guard who, he's been there forever. If it seems like he's been there forever, it's because he has. Began his career, but has done it, I almost said the right way. He has done it like a traditional way back in the old days, right? He stayed at one school. He's been at Ohio State and started as a freshman. Averaged almost 11 points a game as a freshman, 15 points a game as a sophomore, 17, 18 points a game as a junior. And now, in his senior year, through 9 games, he's averaging close to 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. And he is shooting 55% from 3. That's right, 55% from downtown on 5 3-point attempts a game. This kid is good. Has, again, just been solid and has started every game he's played for Ohio State over the course of 4 years. Sensational player who's progressed and got better, and again done it a traditional way that you don't see so much. I hope that kid gets an absolutely massive monster standing ovation on senior night for Ohio State because of the career that he has had, the season that he's putting together as a senior. Again, I mean, if he keeps this up, you're looking at an All-American. You just straight up, you're looking at an All-American. 21 points a game, shooting 55% from three. I don't think that's going to continue, but through 9 games, on 5 attempts a game, he's shooting 55% from three. He is lethal, as advertised, as good as, I mean, he's so good. So good, right? I mean, Mountaineers just played a really, really high caliber player in Juke Harris, who's taking his game to another level against Wake Forest. There was lots of talk about how good he was coming into that game, and then he proved it with a monster second half to put the game away for the Demon Deacons. You don't want to see Bruce Thornton do that if you're the West Virginia Mountaineers, but I'm not going to say similar players, right? They're different positions, different things going on, but 2 star players, and Bruce Thornton is having an incredible season for Ohio State. I'm going to give you a few numbers that just jump off the page to me regarding Ohio State. They rank 5th in the Big Ten in scoring, and they like to get up and down just like the Demon Deacons. 87.5 points per game, and they're making 52% of their shots, shooting it really, really well from the floor. Again, not just Bruce Thornton, but their whole team is efficient. That's 2nd in the conference, 52% from the floor, and 12th in the country in field goal percentage. They have the best 3-point defense so far in the young season in the Big Ten, holding opponents to just shy of 29% from beyond the arc. So that's something to take note of. Obviously, we know West Virginia, Honor Huff likes to get them up. He and Trayson Eaglestaff coming off a really hot shooting night against Little Rock. We'll see what Ohio State does defensively, schematically, to limit West Virginia from beyond the arc. Those are the top 2 shooters, and obviously Honor Huff up there with the tops in the nation yet again this season for knocking it down from downtown. Again, mentioned Bruce Thornton, his 4th year as a starter, 21 a game, 5 boards, 4 assists a game. He shot 42% from 3 last season, and again, he's up to 55%, which is the 3rd best percentage in the nation this season. He's an All-American, right? If this thing continues, he's going to be an All-American and deserving of every bit of that accolade. He scored again 34 points against Illinois, 13 of 27, 13 of 17, 13 of 27 wouldn't have been bad, but 13 of 17 is lethal. 6 of 9 shooting in the loss to Illinois, 6 of 9 from 3-point land in that 8-point loss. So he gave it all he had in those 40 minutes, and they just came up shy. There's 3 other guys for Ohio State I'm going to mention here real quick that are averaging double figures this season. Christoph Tilley, a 7-foot senior who transferred from Santa Clara, who's adjusting well to his time as a Buckeye. Through 9 games, he's averaging just about 14 points and 5 rebounds. Big threat under the hoop for the Buckeyes. Sophomore guard, John Mobley Jr., picking up right where he left off after a freshman campaign that was pretty impressive for the Buckeyes. He's averaging double figures, 13.5 points a game, shooting 35% from downtown. Keep an eye on him. And then lastly, Devin Royal, a 6'6 junior forward, the 4th Buckeye in double figures, averaging 13.6 points per game and knocking down nearly 40% of his 3-point shots this season. Is Devin Royal, the junior forward for Ohio State, who's coming off he had a poor shooting night against Illinois in that loss, 15 points, but 4 of 15. 4 of 15 from the field. Against Northwestern, he put up 10. Against Pitt, he put up 22 so far this season. Mount St. Mary's, he put up 17. So a threat, certainly, with some good length, 6'6" guy out on the wing for Ohio State. Those are your 4 guys in double figures. And again, the guy to keep an eye on is most certainly Bruce Thornton for the season that he's having. You guys are going to be going nuts in the comment section saying I'm talking about him too much. I don't think I'm talking about him enough. He is that good and then having just an insane start to this season. Tip-off between the Mountaineers and the Buckeyes, again, is set for 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU. But real quick, we will end this one talking about what West Virginia needs to do to break the cycle. And one, we talked about it. pre-Wake Forest, right? After you come off those wins against Mercyhurst and Coppin State, the point I was making was, all right, you gotta carry that forward. You got to take what you were able to do and establish here against lower quality teams and take it forward and go win a game against Wake Forest. You couldn't do it. Then you got another one against Little Rock after that one. You blow the doors off them. You have a hot shooting night, your best scoring night of the season. You got to push that forward. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm predicting Mountaineers are going to go hang 90 on Ohio State Saturday night, because that's not what I think is going to happen. But Trayson Eaglestaff didn't shoot the ball once against Wake Forest. Did not get a shot off 10 minutes played. Chance Moore took a lot of his minutes. I get it. And Chance Moore's still going to play a lot either way because he's good off the bench. But you need Eaglestaff to score the rock. That's why you brought him here. He did a great job against Little Rock. His best game of the season, 23 points, knocked down, I think, 5 threes. So first key for me for West Virginia is getting Honor Huff some relief. We talked about that against Wake Forest, and then lo and behold, we did not get him relief, and that's why we lost that game, because it was so much on his shoulders, right? We talked about it post-game. There were two things that West Virginia had in mind, it looked like, to me, offensively in the second half especially. One was let Honor Huff jack up a three, and two was let Chance Moore drive to the basket. And that simply wasn't good enough offense to beat a talented Wake Forest team. It's not going to be good enough offense to beat Ohio State. So whatever it needs to look like to get buckets more consistently from the other guys, whether it's Belo, whether it's Obioha down low, whether it's Jasper Floyd contributing something, beyond assists, getting shots up and being efficient around the hoop. But I think a lot of that's going to rest on Trayson Eaglestaff and Chance Moore. I get that too. But Eaglestaff, you brought him here to score, right? He was incredible at North Dakota last season, a 50-point performance and a 40-point performance against Alabama, who was ranked like 6th in the nation at the time. The dude can absolutely fill it up. It's encouraging to see him get more comfortable, because I think he is. But, man, it would do wonders for this team to see Eaglestaff go for like 17, 18 points against Ohio State. That would open up so many different things. It would free up Honor Huff to do his thing. It could, give you easier buckets down low for the big fella, Harlan Obioha. Like, there's just, if he's shoots efficiently, effectively, he's on the floor, Eaglestaff goes for 17, 20, 22 points against Ohio State, man, that's going to open up amazing things for this team. So can he do it? Number one, I think that's huge. Number two, you got to keep your guys out of foul trouble. Obioha's been in foul trouble. We just mentioned, a couple games he has been, and then Ohio State's got a big fella who's averaging, 14 points a game. You got to keep Obioha in to match up with him. Keep Belo out of foul trouble. I want to see more from him, as far as what he does even offensively, because he's certainly more than capable. There was a point this season I said he's the most complete player on this team. I don't think I'm shying away from that, but I want to see more from him when we take steps up in our competition. So he needs to be big. Obioha needs to be big. And then, defensively, I mentioned, this is we've gone this far in like keys to victory and haven't mentioned Bruce and what he does and how good he's been this season. Well, you got to do your best to take away something from him. We saw what happened against Juke Harris with Wake Forest. Juke Harris won them that game in the second half, and I don't want to leave Cleveland on Saturday night saying that we lost this game because we let Bruce Thornton take over. He's certainly more than capable. He certainly might. But don't let that be the reason you lose. Make other guys beat you. We mentioned some other guys to keep an eye on, some guys that can shoot it well from beyond the arc. Again, Ohio State on the defensive end, really, really good at defending the three so far this season, so keep an eye on that as a factor in this one. But, you're not going to win this game. Chances are you're not going to win this game. Bruce Thornton's coming off a 34-point, 13 of 17 shooting game against Illinois, and they lost. Chances are Bruce Thornton puts up those numbers against West Virginia, Ohio State's going to win. So you can't have that. You just can't give up 30-plus points to Bruce Thornton and expect to win. You got to limit him as much as you can. Make some of these other guys beat you and make it a game. Make it sloppy. Make it a fist fight, like a rock fight. West Virginia wants it to be. Limit what Ohio State does offensively. Again, we mentioned they're one of the better scoring teams so far in the country this season, 12th in field goal percentage and among the leaders in the Big Ten in scoring. And so defensively, there's a lot of goals I have for West Virginia. We don't have time for it on this episode, but there's a lot you want to see. And I think it starts with bringing that intensity, bringing the fight, and not having mental lapses. There were mental lapse after mental lapse against Xavier in that loss. There was plenty that went wrong defensively against Wake Forest that goes just beyond Juke Harris just having himself a day, because that did happen too, but there was a lot of things that went wrong that contributed to him having a day, and so you want to limit those things as well. So defensively, we said it too, I think, already on this very show, not this episode, but previous ones. Part of the reason you've lost 3 games to those teams, the aforementioned Clemson, Xavier, and Wake Forest, well, each of those teams had a 40-point second half, 40-plus points. You can't have that. So, let's hold Ohio State in the 30s in both halves, right? Keep them around 65, 70 points. And then you're going to be in this one, and you're going to like that, because you're going to like this score a lot better if you're West Virginia, if it's in the 60s than in the high 70s, low 80s. You just are. So keep them low. Limit what they can do and bring that fight, bring the West Virginia defensive mentality to this game and see what happens. Again, action tips off 8 o'clock Eastern, ESPNU, West Virginia and Ohio State doing battle in Cleveland for another neutral site game for the Mountaineers. We'll have you covered here, post-game reaction, talking about the Mountaineers and what they were able to do against Ohio State. Again, this is episode 114, and we'll see you next time on Mountaineer Moment.